Okay, as you see, I was on my Instagram for Rojo Chief Clothing, and I'm clicking on my online clothing store. And on here, I have clothes. I got hoodies, sweatshirts. You know, if you like to buy them, long sleeve, short sleeve. I'm clicking on hoodies right now for men, and that's one. And then I'm clicking back just to show you fashions that I have for women. Like I have long sleeve shirt. Okay. Then I even have clothing for babies as well. And kids. So that's the onesie. You can get that in different colors. As well as t-shirts, hoodies, and long sleeves for kids. So now, let's get ready for the show. Okay. Now, this is from a book called Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. Now, Chapter 8, Negro Ancestry in the French. The Moors, as was seen, invaded France in the 8th century and remained there until the 12th, when they were absorbed into the population. 5 centuries later, in 1609, this stock was reinforced by the entry of about 1 million more who came in on the invitation of Henry IV at their final expulsion from Spain. They settled in Alvergine, where their strand is still evident in the general population, and there is a strong Negroid strand in many Afrikanese, says John Guthner. Among those of the Moorish stock were such noted figures: Berrand du Guesclin, Charles Brondat, Neopolitic Marshal and King of Sweden, Joachim Murat, Napoleon's brother-in-law, King of Naples, Pierre Laval, twice Premier of France. Laval was an Avigant and rather Negroid in appearance. In addition to the Moors were the Negro slaves and Negroid Levantines, brought in by the Christians in the 13th century and earlier. Ethiopians, Moors, Turks, Greeks furnished chiefly the crowd of slaves in the homes of the wealthy. Later, when modern Negro slavery started in Portugal about 1440, the number of Negro slaves as well as free Negroes increased in France. The principal slave ports was Bordeaux and Nantes. Dating to Henry IV, the arrival of Negroes multiplied in France. They came in droves to fill in the gaps left in the population by the wars of Louis XIV, who, as the maritime ports are not the only places we find mention of them. We find also records of baptisms of Negroes born in Africa and the registers of parishes of the interior. Ship captains, ambassadors, admirals brought them into France and used them for various purposes. In Orleans, there was a college for these blacks, and the street was named in their honor. During the 17th century, there were numerous imperies. Most of the female slaves were white, says Levinski. They were brought chiefly from the region of the Black Sea in southern Russia. Nantes and Bordeaux had many Negroes, and Covey of St. Michael at Bordeaux saw the mummified bodies of 2 or 3 or 1 of the Les Negres, from whom the small town was named, and a railroad station with that name. It says the nobleman married Cassis, a Negro, who descended married into some of the leading families of the city The mulatto descendants of Zenon, a Negro, still live in the town of Bonny-sur-Loire. Some of the old men, others children, most of them are whitish yellow, their Negro strands showing mostly in their hair, their nose, their lips. Zenon, who came from Il Bourdon, Africa, passed for rich and had many children by white girls of the village. The Negroes were well received, especially in militaries. Marshal Prince Maurice Saxony, 1696 to 1750, had a parade of jet black Africans commanded by Jean Hinton, a Negro, who served as his bodyguard, mounted on white horses and colorfully uniformed. These blacks were one of the great sights of Paris and Versailles. Okay. Count Deveau, French ambassador, had a guard of 140 Negroes, picturesquely dressed in his bodyguard. 1644, when he went to Germany to help write the Peace of Munster, he took them with him, creating a sensation when they accompanied him into the cathedral to worship. Napoleon had many Negroes, some of whom fought in Russia. They had such names as the Black Pioneers and Royal Africans. Okay, then let's take a look. And this is a picture. It says Princess de Conti of France and her Negro favorite. And I take a right, and so you can see that she was of mixed heritage. She was French royalty. Okay. Okay, so now on genealogy.com, this is the last name of Beyonce's ancestor, Broussard, family crest. It says the established crests were from the histories of families: Bourgeoisie, Landry, Comeau, Savigny, Blanchard. The Broussard lineage dates back to kings of France. There it is right there. It says the Broussard lineage dates back to kings of France, although no connection to date of Francois and his parentage. And then it talks about Jean-Francois. And then it says the gene was an error. Leading Acadian genealogists today. Okay, so according to them, that it leads back to the kings of France, that last name, in which, as we know, the French royalty had intermarried with the British royalty. So Beyonce is also related to the British royalty. So I'm going to show you how that is. Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about how Beyonce is related to French royalty. Now, this is how. Now, looking at this article, it says Beyonce descended from Acadian hero and Cajun pioneer. Beyonce's family tree can be traced back to French colonials from Acadia, which is in Canada, and down to the Afro-Creole survivors of slavery. Beyonce has become a household name in the United States and worldwide. The multi-platinum, Grammy Award-winning artist stuns audiences the world over with her vocals, music videos, live concerts, and acting. What many may not know is that Beyonce comes from a very unique and mixed ancestry, which makes for a fascinating look at her family tree. Descent from Acadian forefather. Through her mother, Beyonce is the sixth great-granddaughter of Joseph Broussard, legendary leader and hero of the Acadians, French colonists who settled in what is now Nova Scotia and New Brunswick in Canada. The descendants of these colonists would eventually migrate to Louisiana. So as you see here, it said Joseph Broussard, Broussard, 1702. Okay, skipping down, it says Beyoncé's sixth grandfather, Joseph Broussard, was born October 19th, 1702, in Port Royal, in what is today Nova Scotia, Canada. At that time, this area was a French colony known as Acadia. And Joseph's father, John Francois Broussard, came to the New World from France, where he met and married Joseph's mother, Catherine Richard, who was born in the colony. Their son, Joseph Broussard, married Agnes Thibaudot, a daughter of colonists born in the French colony. Together, they would have had a large number of children. The Broussard lived in a tumultuous time in the region. 1713, the French colony of Port Royal was captured by and ceded to the British. Meaning, in other words, the French still was fighting the British, and then the British took control over the colony. It says some of the French colonists, estimated at 30 or more, intermarried with the indigenous population, notably the Mik'Mak. Together, the French and the Mik'Mak were living under British rule, which you could imagine was not a fun time for them. In the midst of aggression between the French and the British, Joseph Broussard participated in several wars and battles, at least 8 that we know of, during King George's War, 1744-1748. Broussard began resisting the British occupation of Acadia, participating in the Battle of Grand Prix, in which the Canadians, Acadians, Mik'Mak combined forces against the British. Joseph Broussard became known as nickname of Beau Soleil, or translated the French beautiful sun. In Father Latour's War, 1749-1755, Broussard participated in some bloody scrimmages. As wars tend to go, things got pretty sick when the British were offering bounties for the head of the Mik'Mak, and the French were offering bounties for the British scalps. On 13 May 1751, Broussard led 60 Acadians and Mik'Mak on a raid against the British settlement at Dartmouth, killing 20 British settlers and taking prisoners. During the French and Indian War, 1754-1763, the Acadians were forcefully removed and deported by the British. Some of the Acadians were the second generation born in the region, and some had indigenous roots. This event became known as the expulsion of the Acadians, or the Great Deportation. The British plundered and burned Acadian settlements, and the Acadians were forced to go back to France or elsewhere in the New World. During this period of deportation, Broussard and his family fled into the woods. Along with several other Acadian families, Broussard became the leader of an armed resistance that assaulted the British for 3 years between 1755 and 1758. During this period, French officer described Broussard as one of the bravest Acadians. In 1758, Broussard and his 4 sons armed a ship and attacked the British up and down the bay. Soon, the Acadian families in hiding were reduced to famine and eventually surrendered to the British. Among them were Broussard's family, who became prisoners held at Fort Edward. Later, they held at Halifax, where Broussard was imprisoned for about a year, being released in 1764 after the Treaty of Paris. Founding the Cajuns of Louisiana. After his release, Broussard chartered a ship to take himself, his family, and many other Acadians to present-day Haiti. The climate and disease killed many of the Acadians refugees in Haiti. Broussard led a group of 200 Acadian survivors to Louisiana. Arriving aboard the ship called Santo Domingo on 27 February 1765. The Acadians settled quickly, and in April 1765, Joseph Broussard was appointed captain of the militia and commandant of the Acadians. Here in Louisiana, Acadians would come to be known as by corruption of their name, Cajun. So Cajun is a corrupt form of the word Acadian. So Cajuns developed their own dialect, Cajun French, as well as distinct music, cuisine that influences the Louisiana region to this day. Merging of Cajun and Afro-Creole lineages. Okay. So Joseph Broussard's second great-grandson, I think it's pronounced Eloy Rene Rosemont Broussard, remarried Celestine Josephine Lacey, an Afro-Creole woman who may have been formerly enslaved by his father. They were married in March 1873 at the New Iberian Church in St. Martin. The marriage was a formality as they had been in a relationship for some time and had already had children together. So, to my understanding, that a Creole is a person who had Indian ancestry and as well as African ancestry, since there were supposed to have been African slaves that was brought in to Louisiana through New Orleans, since New Orleans is right by the water, it's right by the ocean. So let's see here. It says together, Eloy and Celestine had a daughter, Odella Broussard, who was born on the 15th of December, 1863. In the census record, her race is listed as mulatto, an old term used to describe a person born of one white parent, and one black parent. The term is not outdated and considered derogatory. Odella married Eugene Gustave de Rouen, who also born of a white parent and a black parent. Together, the couple was Agnes. Born July 1st, 1909, Agnes is the grandmother of Beyoncé. Eugene Gustave's surname, de Rouen, was variously spelled Derouen, Dereon, Dereon, and Derezen in records, and there was generally no spelling standardization during that time. Beyonce's fashion line, the House of Dereon, is in honor of her grandmother Agnes. So, Agnes Dereon married Loomis Albert Beyoncé, spelled Beyince. The surname of her grandfather, Beyoncé, was the inspiration for Beyonce's given name. In conclusion, we take a quick wild ride following Beyonce's lineage from France in the 1600s to Canada in the 1700s to Louisiana in the 1800s and present day. One thing is for sure, as we look at the combination of our ancestors, they've got a lot of fighting spirit and don't give up easy. Okay. So there you go. Okay, it says how Beyonce is actually related to Queen Elizabeth II. When it comes to the royal family, we're fully aware that it's not all glitz and glamour, but that doesn't stop us from daydreaming about having our own Princess Diaries moment every now and then. It usually goes a little something like this. You suddenly find out that your royalty you're plucked from your 9 to 5 and moved into your own lush apartment with a ridiculous number of bedrooms, and you get to swan around in some of the most amazing dresses in the world. Sadly, we've come to terms with the fact that it's never going to happen. But there are some celebrities out there who are genuinely related to the royal family, although they probably don't need the Mia thermopolis dream, considering they're already doing pretty well. Apparently, Camilla Parker Bowles is related to Celine Dion and Madonna, while Kate Middleton is cousins with Ellen DeGeneres and Guy Ritchie. And if you're looking for A-listers who are actually related to the Queen herself, then you'll be very happy to know that one and only Beyoncé has royal blood running through her veins. That's right, she's a relative of Liz. Okay, so it says here, Beyoncé and Queen Elizabeth are cousins. Beyoncé is the Queen's 25th cousin, once removed, and their shared ancestor is Henry II. Okay, this is what they say about King Henry II, or Henry II of England, King of England. It says, who was Henry II? Henry II was King of England between 1154 and 1189, the first of 3 Angevin kings of England. He expanded the Anglo-French domains and strengthened the royal administration. He was born March 5th, 1133, in Le Mans, France. See, there it is. That's a connection with Beyoncé, since one of her ancestors was of French heritage. Okay, and he died in France on July 6, 1189. Okay. So in conclusion, as you see right here, they have Negroes on the coat of arms for the noble families, as you saw earlier. And the point of this that I'm trying to make is that people in Hollywood, such as Angelina Jolie, Ellen DeGeneres, Beyoncé, and so many other people, including the presidents of the United States, are all related to each other, and they're related to the royal family in England. Okay, and that how these royal families originally were black people or Negroes, people of African descent, and in some cases also some American Indian descent as well, since American Indians also went up into Europe as well at some point. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to come out with more videos, and this is going to be my podcast about the royal black nobility of Europe. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.